The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. Hold on just 1 second. Hey, TJ, how do you pronounce this guy's name? Yeah.
Tom Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. Yeah, the Knicks fired their guy. This guy takes them to the whatever it is that they were in for the first time in 25 years. They had a shot at maybe going for the big game. They blew it. Well, they didn't blow it. They got beaten. Apparently, the guys that play out in the cornfields, wherever the guys that they played in the cornfields were better than they were. But for the first time in 25 years, this guy gets, and they didn't even wait. They just fired the guy. Like, okay, you're done. Thanks, bye. Man, the thanks you get. That's the way it goes. I'm not complaining about it. It was just, wow. Speaking of fired, Poland, my friends, I have Polish friends, and I love my Polish friends. Poland has just sent ominous signal to the world. New York Times says Poland has sent an ominous signal to the world because on Sunday, MAGA won in Poland after voters reject this Trumpist candidates in recent elections in Canada, Australia, and Romania, enough to suggest an international anti-Trump bump. Polish voters went the other way. They elected a conservative historian, former boxer, and he's now the guy in Poland. The Dutch government has collapsed over immigration issues. The populist Geert Wilders withdrew his right-wing party from the ruling coalition. So now the guy that is the PM, Dick Schoof, says he's going to present his resignation to the king. Man, oh man, this is such an antiquated system. No, it's fine. I'm sorry. No judgments. No judgments. Fine, you guys want to have a king? Have a king. Said he's going to present his resignation to the king. He'd stay on as leader of the caretaker administration without Geert until a new government is formed. This is all over immigration. Wilders wanted actual limits on immigration. And that's what he was elected for. His party was elected with a lot of votes. So now, I guess whoever comes to power, new elections may be coming there in the fall, October, or so forth. Okay. That's the international news. The domestic news. Elon. Elon has gone off on the big, beautiful budget deal. He calls it a disgusting abomination. And Caroline Levitt was asked today about that, and she said, hey, look, we know that Elon was against the bill. There's no surprise there. He had been openly critical of the bill. He said he just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Rand Paul is among those, and Ron Johnson. You know, Ron, we like Ron. Yeah, we like Rand Paul, too. But this thing is already being debated on the Senate floor. Chuck Schumer has been whining. Chuck U. Schumer, whose approval ratings are still in the tank. In fact, we have Chuck Schumer's little rant. It's cut 5, Carlos. Chuck U. Schumer had some things to say on the Senate floor about the big, beautiful bill today.
Look at the facts. The Republican plan will increase
average national electricity prices by about 10%.
Does anybody
The Republican
this?
plan will increase total household energy costs by $32 billion. That means American families will pay $32 billion more, all to please the ideological blindness of the fossil fuel industry. And that's not to mention that the Republican plan would cost America about 800,000 jobs by 2030, all across America in red states and blue states. What a terrible price to pay just to lower taxes for the ultra-rich, just to line the pockets of the fossil fuel industry, to satisfy the ideological hatred that fossil fuel industry has for clean energy, and to lose out on American energy dominance.
What's really behind this? Number one, the Trump plans are not going to, in fact, lower economic dominance in terms of energy. They're going to make energy independent again, as Donald Trump did already in his first term. Now, this guy can stand up on the Senate floor and spew all this nonsense, but there's a track record here. And Trump's plans and what's happening in the Interior Department with Doug Burgum and what's happening across the Energy Department, all of these things are going to, and in fact, this big deal that Trump just made a week ago, that we're actually going to ramp up nuclear energy again in this country. Does anybody actually believe Chuck Schumer? If you do, I help you. Because what he's spewing is utter nonsense. And what is really the issue here is that the Green New Slush Fund is threatened. All this money that the Bidens were throwing to their ideological left pals is drying up. There is another story. I pulled a story today. It was in the Daily Signal. And I'm reading this story, and I can't believe it. And then I found out, and then I read who actually started this thing, and I was like, oh, I can't even believe this more. Let me just hit the story to you right now. Labor Department confirms bureaucrat on leave amid woke conflict of interest questions. Well, okay, so a nonprofit that supports unions across the world received extra infusions of cash from a federal agency after one of the union's group's employees took a leadership role at that agency. She later went on to serve as the agency's acting chief of staff. Her name is Lauren Stewart. She spent 15 years at the Solidarity Center, a left-leaning nonprofit that supports unions, advocated for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and champions climate justice. The Green New Slush Fund deals. Let me get to the story. So she goes over inside the Labor Department, and all of a sudden, the money starts skyrocketing. Right now, the Bureau has canceled the Labor Department $80 million in funding to the Solidarity Center. They were being funded by our government, by you. I know people that are trying to get a loan so they can just get a few $1,000s to keep their new startup businesses going, and they have to fight through every single bureaucratic snafu that you can. The government does nothing but add to the cost if they're trying to get a business going. They can't make headway, and yet here you go, this woman goes over there from this nonprofit into the government. Next thing you know, they got $80 million. And what do they do with the $80 million? The Solidarity Center is a U.S.-based nonprofit partnering directly with workers where it matters most to come together. Sounds like a P. Diddy party. To come together, speak out, and create real change. They boast of having programs in more than 70 countries. They partner with over 900 organizations, 500 trade unions, worker associations, and community groups. Stronger worker voices mean stronger democracies, fair economies, and more stable societies, their website says. When workers have power, everybody benefits. Straight out of the Communist freaking Manifesto, almost. Workers of the world, unite! Now here's the part that actually blew my mind, folks. The Solidarity Center was originally one of the 4 core institutes funded through the taxpayer-funded National Endowment for Democracy established by President Reagan. At a time when Big Labor was vociferously anti-Marxist. Unfortunately, like so many foreign aid vehicles funded by the U.S. government, it turned into an instrument of left-wing ideology the rest of the world rejects. Well, the Labor Department has cut $400 million from their budget. This $800 in funding to Solidarity has been canceled, so what are they doing? They're suing. They're suing to get the money. They believe they have apparently a constitutional right to have this little nonprofit funded to the tune of $80 million a year by you, so that they can go promote union activities, Worker of the World Unite activities all around the world. Almost every single one of these nonprofits, every single one needs to be examined. Every single one. And I'm telling you, this government, maybe it's time for this government to get out of the business of nonprofits. Let the nonprofits score money on their merit with their donor base instead of the taxpayers, because this is absurd. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media continues. Do not go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
But I do have to give Tim Waltz credit for saying that we need to be meaner, because a lot of you need to be, meaner. Of course that's what you're saying. You leftists just want to bully everybody. Yeah. In this case, yeah. If you're still walking around with a MAGA hat, yeah. Yeah, I fully intend on bullying you, and I don't feel bad about that.
Bring it, baby. Bring it. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour. Okay, Caroline Leavitt went after the Washington Post. Beautiful form. It is so delightful to hear her do things like this in front of the entire Washington press corps.
The Washington Post just ran one of the most ridiculous headlines ever, even by their standards. And on my very first briefing several months ago, I said I would hold anyone accountable in this room. The Washington Post actually had this headline: the mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures on the U.S.-Mexico border. How is this mysterious? There is no mystery about why there is a decrease in fentanyl coming into the United States. This administration's strong border policies are the reason there has been a decrease in fentanyl trafficking. His strengthened relationship with Mexican President Sheinbaum and all of the measures he has been taking to deter illegal human and drug trafficking at our United States southern border is the reason for plummeting fentanyl seizures at the U.S. border. There is nothing mysterious about that, and we'd like to see the Washington Post update their headline accordingly. This is clearly trying to intentionally manipulate the minds of Americans, and I think the American people understand why there's been a fentanyl drop. In our office responded to this inquiry. We provided a whole host of the reasons that fentanyl seizures at the southern border have dropped, and the Washington Post refused to run them, and that's despicable.
Yeah, very despicable. But you can expect that from the Washington Post and the rest of the propaganda outfits that are still with the mainstream news. The Fed Reserve Bank in Atlanta is predicting that the GDP is going to rise 4.6% in the second quarter of this year. Let me tell you, if that happens, it's off to the races. We had a lot more. The audio lineup of things that have happened in the past 24 hours, crazy. Keep it right here. Don't go away. Boston Early's Rush Hour.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I haven't had sex since Roe v. Wade was overturned back in 2021. As soon as they announced that they overturned Roe v. Wade, my wife and I decided that we didn't want to risk getting pregnant, and the only way to really prevent that was for both of us to close our legs. It's not that we didn't want kids, it's that we didn't want either one of us to fall pregnant and then there be complications and us not have access to medically necessary abortion. And while we both had IUDs at the time because we weren't ready to have a baby, we still liked having the idea of an abortion as a backup plan, just in case. All this to say, we haven't had sex since 2021, but my wife is pregnant. Now you might be thinking, Cass, she definitely cheated on you. But she told me she didn't, and she's given me no reason for me not to believe her. And so we prayed about it, and we've been wanting kids for a while, but we were, scared of this whole thing. We prayed about it, and we said, well, if it happens, somehow it happens. If God wants us to have a kid, he will impregnate one of us. And he impregnated my wife. We are expecting a little they, them in November of 2025.
Yeah, James Goldman, I saw, Diana, you almost had me. I saw a headline, and I didn't see who it was from. And I saw the headline, and I burst out laughing. I think it was, Hamas agrees to surrender if Europe will take back Greta Thunberg. I'm like, what? And then I looked, it's Babylon B. It got me. Oh, she's over there. A lot of other activists are over there. There's a lot happening, folks, on the immigration front here. We had some sound bites yesterday we didn't get to. I want to get to some of them today. Let's start off with number 21, Carlos. Todd Lyons, the acting director of ICE, was on Fox News. This was the report.
In the meantime, in Massachusetts, you had, I think, the largest ever raid, or at least netting of arrests of 1,461 people. That's the largest so far. And those that were arrested, 790 of them had criminal convictions, and 277 had what we were just talking about, final orders of removal or deportation. Tell us more.
No, and Dana, it was a great operation, and the fact that it was over the course of a month really shows the commitment of the men and women of ICE here in Massachusetts and all over New England. And we took a whole-of-government approach. We used all of our partners to include diplomatic security, the U.S. Marshal Service, ATF, FBI, DEA, to really locate and arrest these criminal aliens. One highlight for this operation is the fact that it was successful because we worked with our joint partners in a sanctuary state like Massachusetts, where it's extremely difficult. Where we had Operation Tidal Wave last month in Florida, there was a week-long operation working with our state partners. That's a state that cooperates with us. Here in Massachusetts, we don't have any cooperation from the local departments or from the state, which makes it extremely difficult for ICE to get out there and find these bad guys.
Well, let's move to 22 now. Carlos, this is CBS reporting on what happened and what's been happening last week, this week in the Dallas-Fort Worth area down in Tejas.
We captured the moment two men went from migrants to detainees. It happened last week at Dallas Immigration Court when nearly a dozen people showed up to have their asylum cases heard. Their cases were dismissed by the judge, and when they walked out of the courtroom, plainclothes federal agents were waiting to take them into custody. Immigration attorney Belinda Arroyo says targeting migrants at the courthouse used to be a rare event.
What does it do when an ICE agent is in the court and they're not dealing with somebody who's currently in ICE custody?
Well, I think it makes everybody be on edge.
It's not just happening in Dallas.
A
Asylum seekers in San Antonio were seen crying and begging for help as they were led away in handcuffs. Two Department of Homeland Security officials tell CBS News ICE is asking immigration judges across the country to dismiss the court cases of certain migrants so the agency can arrest them once their hearings end and place them in a fast-track deportation process known as expedited removal. Outside a Miami courthouse, this migrant in cuffs says in Spanish, "It's a trap." The Department of Homeland Security released this statement to CBS News, saying Secretary Noem is reversing Biden's catch-and-release policy that allowed millions of unvetted illegal...
Now, let us, my friends, turn to one of your favorite programs, not to ever watch, The View. And Ms. Navarro had a meltdown, cut 10, because of this very thing, what is happening in the country.
The lack of empathy, the lack of humanity, the lack of decency that I am seeing all over the country with the suffering that Donald Trump and his misadministration are inflicting on people living in this country, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, the children who go to school with our children. I'm seeing it in South Florida, where I live, where most of our representatives are Republican. And the suffering and fear that the Latino community is undergoing in Miami and South Florida, all over the country. The windows of their cars are getting smashed. They're getting dragged through the streets by men in masks who are picking them. Children are being torn from the arms of their mothers. And this is happening, and our Republican congresspeople aren't saying a damn thing because they are more scared of Trump right now than they are scared of losing their seats. And that has got to change because we have no guardrails right now. We have no checks and balances. There is no oversight. If we want that to change, as you always say, it is on us. And we can change it by making sure that there are Democrats elected next year so that there is some guardrail and some oversight. Because at the same time that they are dragging Latinos all over the streets of America and treating them worse than we would allow animals to be treated in this country.
Really?
He's opening up the doors and sending a U.S. taxpayer-funded plane to go pick up white Afrikaners fleeing from a non-existent genocide.
So that's the ranting that's going on in The View. I have a response to that, except I'm not going to deliver the response to it. I'm going to offer up another soundbite from today's news in response to Ana Navarro's rant on The View.
Illegal immigrants out of Honduras facing charges in the murder of a South Carolina mother. Authorities say the suspects, ranging in age from 13 to 21, pulled up beside the woman's car and shot her. The case is being described as a random robbery attempt. Senior correspondent Steve Harrigan is live in South Carolina with more on what happened here. Steve.
Bill, this town is reeling from the brutality of that attack. A couple of really shocking details. You mentioned the age of the 6 attackers, all here illegally, all from Honduras. And the ages of the youngest 3 involved in this attack, who've all been charged with murder, aged 13, 14, and 15. We spoke to the sheriff just a short time ago. He said they are struck by the brutality of this crime.
Young lady going to meet some friends in the neighboring county. Someone just follows up behind them, shoots in the car 9 different times, hits the victim 3 times, and then gets out to rob them. Very uncalled for.
That victim, Larisha Thompson, 40 years old, a mother of 2. She also worked 2 jobs, including at Home Depot. When she didn't respond to phone calls, her family went out to search for her. They found her slumped over, her Honda over the steering wheel, shot dead. A second feature of this case that really has struck police here is the lack of any remorse by the accused attackers. Instead, they sent each other text messages with things like "mission fail," and this is only the beginning.
It's really shocking as to what happened here. You have a innocent South Carolina mother of 2 driving to a friend's house on a South Carolina rural road, and they were looking for someone to rob randomly and chose her.
Some really quick police work here. The weapon used in the murder was previously used in an attempted robbery at a local store. Right now, 3 of those attackers are being held behind me here. 3 of the juveniles now moved to Columbia in a juvenile detention facility. And really, officials here say the investigation into the families of these attackers, are they here legally or illegally, is only just beginning. Bill, back to you.
Yeah. So here's what wasn't in that report. This is the second murder that we've learned about in the last 3 or 4 weeks, where a black woman, one was 18, getting ready to go in military service, plowed down by a woman on a jet ski, who then left. That was in Texas. Now you have this South Carolina. This woman who worked 2 jobs, had 2 kids, supporting her family, happened to be a black woman. But what don't you hear? You don't hear anything from BLM, the remnants of BLM. They're too busy in the very large mansions that were purchased, I guess, with all that investment. You don't hear anything from the NAACP. You don't hear anything from the slew of people in the Black Congressional Caucus demanding that there be justice for this woman or some way to help her family out. You don't hear any of that because it doesn't fit a narrative. If this black woman had been shot and killed by a white police officer, no matter what the circumstances was, it would be a national story. Because this woman was robbed by 6 illegal immigrants who should have never been in this country, you will not hear a peep from the left about her life, her family, meaningless. And then Ana Navarro has the nerve to sit up and complain that people are being horrifically treated because they broke the law in America and they actually are being caught. And they're smashing the windows. Excuse me, they don't smash your windows unless you resist arrest. And then they tell you, we are going to smash your damn window to get you out of the car. Okay? They're being dragged. If you walk with them as you are being arrested, you will not have to be dragged, Anna. So spare me all of this stuff. I mean, my heart breaks for some of them. I talked about that the other day. Some of these stories of some immigrants that are being caught up in this, illegal immigrants, are touching indeed. Not denying that, but give me a break. Then you have people like New York's Dan Goldman, Cut 9, who goes with this nonsense. Here's another nonsensical angle.
And I asked them, I said to them, what is the point here? Are you just trying to tally more arrests? I didn't get any real response. And then I said to them, why are you wearing masks? I was a federal prosecutor for 10 years. I worked with ICE agents. I worked with law enforcement agents. I never saw any of them wear masks. This is brand new. And the question is...
This is new, Dan Goldman, because people on your idiot left are trying to dox these agents. And you know it. This is one of the latest line of attacks on federal agents. Oh, they're wearing masks. They are being doxxed. People are using online services to try to get to the families of federal agents. And instead of Dan Goldman and the Democrat Party standing up for federal agents doing their work, they're trying to impugn the work that they're doing because these people have to hide their identity. Now, either this guy is undeserving of his office because he's incredibly ignorant, or he knows the truth and is just going with this narrative anyway. It's totally ridiculous. Tim Walsh is out there. His son has enlightened him on why men are gravitating toward Trump. And then we get people, you saw what happened yesterday quickly before the break. Cut 3, Carlos. Just, it speaks for itself about liberals in America.
So I was a block away in Boulder to the incident that happened today. I do not condone violence at all. But please, I beg, please stop saying that this was anti-Semitic. It was not. They weren't targeted because they were Jewish. They were targeted because they're out there every day promoting war crimes by a foreign government. It wasn't because they were Jewish.
Liberals.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, Snerdley with you here. The fastest hour in American media continues. Oh, man, there's so much stuff. I'm looking. Okay, you're not going to believe this. Cut 12. This is Maria Cardona. She's on CNN. She's one of the Democrat strategists on the Abby show. Just brace yourselves. It goes by quick, but brace yourselves.
We also have to acknowledge, Abby, that the rise of anti-Semitism in the last decade can be correlated with the rise of Donald Trump. And the kind of language that he gives a permission slip for all of this anti-Semitic language to be used, in a way that we really hadn't seen before.
So it's Donald Trump's fault. Never mind, the Democrat Party has embraced Hamas, pretty much. You have people like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC. You have had liberal activists tearing up American colleges' campuses with their anti-Semitic, pro-Palestinian protests for years. The people that are standing up against it are Donald Trump and this administration. And yet this woman has the audacity to blame the rise in anti-Semitism, which defines the current Democrat Party, on Donald Trump. It's almost, these people, their TDS defines their entire existence. If they didn't have the name Trump to call, they wouldn't know how to finish a sentence. Oh, we got to go. We left so much on the table, but I'm keeping all these stories here. Tomorrow's another fun day. God willing, we're here for it. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your family, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are back tomorrow. In the meantime, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder, what the heck is going on here?
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.